question.
If I could ask a question, I'll direct this to Mr. Tarpley. You've spoken very eloquently about Russia's influence and even China's influence with Iran. And I think many people hope that they'll stand up, they'll get up to the plate, and they'll prevent this disaster from happening. Yet, they were both economic and political allies with Iraq, and they did nothing to save Iraq from, I guess, the invasion. So can we expect them to step up to the plate and to get into this, or can we expect them to do the same thing they did in Iraq and step aside?
Well, I would have to say yes and no, in the sense that it's clear that the Russian policy of Putin since September 11th has been to say the madmen are running Washington and London, and we will give them all the rope they need to hang themselves. It was clear on 9/11 that the result of 9/11 would be a series of attacks led by the neocon fascist madmen on a series of countries of the Arab and Islamic world, starting with Afghanistan, but then on to Iraq, possibly on to Iran. And it simply means that in the course of all of those events, the U.S. has gotten weaker, more dispersed, more discredited, more hated, more divided, and generally less able to wage serious military conflict. Russia, by the way, has gotten more solvent, new missiles, new anti-aircraft missiles, new ICBMs, the Topol, the Bulava, the Typhoon, the Triumph, all these systems coming online, the Tor. So the basic policy is that Putin can't be more Iranian than the Iranians. He cannot sacrifice Russia for the sake of Iran. Also because when you say Iran, there are several. And some of them are very irresponsible. Some of them, in my view, are fools. This is one of the problems in the current situation. We had the foreign minister of Iran, Motaki, coming forward and saying, oh, no sweat, no war, no attack, don't worry, take it easy, don't do anything, no problem. But then the head of the Iranian General Staff comes out and says, well, we think we're in grave danger of being attacked and we're getting ready to respond. And then we have Ahmadinejad. My advice to him would be, shut up. Just shut up. This is, naturally, the rhetoric that he uses is pretty standard rejection front rhetoric. It's nothing you can hear much worse on, the Savage program, or, Don Imus has said, bomb the Palestinians, kill them all. And nobody cares. But when Ahmadinejad says something like that, it's going to be made into a cause célèbre. So Ahmadinejad is not really a clever player in this. Ahmadinejad right now is somebody who makes the world more complicated, really, than it needs to be. Now, having said all this, it's clear that in the past 2 or 3 weeks, the Russians have put a tremendous effort through this Andrei Uglanov, Argumenty Nedelia. He's a well-known journalist. He's the one who put out the April 6th morning. RIA Novosti is the world source now. It's the, remember in the Soviet times there was TASS, which was official, and Novosti, which was semi-official. And now you can go to RIA Novosti and get the latest news with Ivashov, with all of these people, up-to-date news. Russian intelligence says preparations for the attack are ready, where they're awaiting the attack and so forth. And therefore, there is an attempt, I think, to make the Iranians understand that they are in grave danger, and to make the world understand that there is a grave danger. So in other words, there is a constructive role. There is. And I would also point to a very interesting phone call on March 28th. There's a phone call. Bush calls Putin on March 28th. And in the course, I wish I knew more about this conversation, but the one thing that is known is that Putin says to Bush, Mr. President, let me direct your attention to the most recent UN Security Council resolution, the one that puts certain economic sanctions on Iran. They don't amount to much, but they're symbolic. And he says, notice, Mr. President, this resolution categorically excludes the use of military force, and you voted for it. So you are now committed not to use military force against Iran around the pretext of this silly atomic bomb stuff. So I take that as a warning. In other words, some people say Russia will do nothing. Well, I think that's probably exaggerated. Some say Russia will save the world. I think that's probably exaggerated too. But there's an area there of uncertainty which I think gives the U.S. side pause. Tomorrow I'm going to show you a Topol-M missile. And it's formidable. It's really formidable. It's much, much more effective than an SS-24 or 25 from 20 years ago. So you don't want to be on the receiving end of a Topol-M ICBM.